Han Sen's pupils shrunk. He saw a mysterious, blue shelter residing atop the peak. Its presence there was like a castle, perched in the heavens. The blue shelter looked rugged, though. Many parts of the building had fallen and crumbled. Even the gate of the front wall had fallen, succumbing to mounds of dust. The place looked as if it had been abandoned a long time ago. Shelter. How can there be a shelter out here? I wonder, is it a human or spirit shelter? Han Sen observed the distant shelter as best he could, but did not see too much. Although it seemed to have decayed over time's relentless march, it still looked solid, perhaps even operable. It looks like the shelter isn't home to any humans or creatures. If it is, why would it be in the state it currently is? But then again, why would the Blood Centipede be so afraid of it? While Han Sen pondered the stockpile of questions that now occurred to him, he saw the Blood Centipede start moving again. After the broken shelter had revealed itself, the Blood Centipede possessed what seemed like a renewed courage, and it rapidly climbed the mountain after Han Sen. Han Sen froze, and when he thawed soon after, he quickly took off running up the mountain. The monster had most likely believed the shelter was whole, which held off its initial advance. But now that it knew the shelter was an abandoned ruin, it ascended the mountain without fear. Han Sen had no other choice but to ascend. He hastened his brisk steps to ramble and climb his way up to the shelter. It was a decayed structure, and it didn't look like anyone lived up there, but if there was still a teleporter inside, and it was still in working condition, he could escape by returning to the Alliance. Han Sen ran inside the shelter and strode across the thick dust that had gathered so deeply that it felt like snow. The Blood Centipede followed Han Sen to the front of the shelter. It hesitated before the entrance for a moment, but still decided to follow him inside. The blue metal shelter had many toppled buildings, and many structures only had one or two disheveled walls remaining. Some had been cut in half or even had their roofs shaved off. Han Sen's run kept him weaving left and right between the remains of old buildings and constructs to avoid the centipede's pursuit. He summoned the little angel and gave her the egg, bidding that she fly away from him to the other side of the shelter. The Blood Centipede shrieked at Han Sen, but turned around and gave pursuit to the little angel now instead. Han Sen had finally achieved a moment's reprieve. He moved around the decayed shelter in search of a teleporter that may have fared better than the rest of the area. He had searched through a number of ruined buildings and was still in awe of the devastation. The entire area was a mess, as shrapnel and bits of twisted metal lay strewn about every corner. But thus far, unfortunately, he was unable to find a teleporter that was in good shape. In his search, he stumbled into a plaza which contained a half-toppled bell tower in its center. The bell was composed of blue copper, and it exuded an aura of mystique. Strange carvings were etched into the metal of its composition, with many of the drawn shapes resembling bugs. Han Sen saw this blue bell and wondered, if this place had indeed been abandoned, why had 6 bells rung out earlier? Han Sen looked around, observing the thick dust that coated each crevice of the lost shelter. He didn't see any footprints or marks that suggested occupation. Even the blue bell was covered in dust and ash. He believed it must have been years since a person last touched the bell. The tolling bell could not have been this one. Han Sen flapped his wings and flew onto the bell tower to take a closer look. Han Sen was then hit with a sudden surprise. There was a body inside the bell tower that looked like a human in rugged clothes. Through decay over time, the body was little more than a dust-covered skeleton. Han Sen summoned a lance to poke the clothing that once dressed the deceased. With little effort, the clothes and bones fell apart into ash. Was this a human shelter that got attacked by some fearsome creature? Han Sen came down from the bell tower and treaded the shelter with a little more care this time. Han Sen summoned his super armor in case something unfortunate was about to happen. Since there weren't any other humans around, no one would see or recognize him. The fallen metal buildings were everywhere, and he couldn't find a single building that had been left untouched. Most of the houses did not contain teleporters, and the ones Han Sen found were broken and had ceased to function. Han Sen later discovered many other skeletal remains that were similar to the first one. For some reason, all it took was a little touch for the remains to crumble and wholly collapse. Han Sen had searched through half the shelter so far and had yet to find a single working teleporter. The little angel was on the other side, keeping the Blood Centipede busy. He didn't fancy venturing that way. Strange, aside from the blue copper bell, there aren't any other bell towers here. There aren't any other bells at all. What tolling bells did I hear? Han Sen thought, puzzled. While Han Sen was deep in thought, he heard the mystery bells ring once more like thunder. The shock was so strong, he almost collapsed. Han Sen quickly ran his Dongxuan Sutra to quell the energy inside him. He raised his head and saw the bell in the bell tower was ringing, all by itself. Not even a stiff wind brushed it, yet it tolled. Why is this happening to me? Why does the bell ring itself? Han Sen tried his best to calm the energy inside him as he stared at the bell. The little angel and the blood centipede stopped fighting, as if they were both affected by the bell as well. Dong! The blue bell rang again, at an even scarier tone than before. It was loud, like an explosion detonating right on Han Sen's eardrum. The tolling of the bell, when he had been further down the mountain, was not as strong as what he was hearing now, because he was so close to it. Every ring was like a thunderbolt that convulsed his body and caused him to spit blood from his mouth. Dong! 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 The blue bell continued to ring, and Han Sen continued to writhe, oozing blood from his mouth. He used the Dongshuan Sutra the best he could to fight back the damage caused by the loud tolling of the bell. Although the Dongshuan Sutra was powerful, it didn't provide enough relief to fight back the noise. The energy inside Han Sen went insane, and the chaos inside highlighted every vein that coursed through his body. A green vein, in particular, began to expand in his body, looking ready to rupture. Some of his smaller veins were broken already, which dyed his skin red. It was a frightening sight to witness. The blood centipede was not doing any better. In its agony, it twisted and wriggled around on the ground, toppling many buildings. Its madness only generated more noise. The blue bell seemed to deal damage to any creature that heard it. The more energy a creature had, the more damage it suffered. The little angel, however, was not affected. Her body's energy exuded a holy presence, and because of her purity, the bell could not deal damage to her. But the little angel still had to fight back the noise, and so couldn't do anything else. Suddenly, Han Sen's mind flashed back to the berserk devil unicorn that had finished evolving. He summoned it before he considered whether or not it would even work. The black smoke whirled around Han Sen like a black hole. The sonic pulse pounded the black smoke, which caused a bit of it to evaporate. Its disappearance revealed Han Sen slightly, consumed by the protective smoke. But when the noise halted for a moment, the black smoke fully rejuvenated. It was like a shield, protecting Han Sen. Through the black smoke's protection, Han Sen didn't feel as affected by the tolling of the bell. Now, his Dongshuan Sutra was able to fight it. The discord of his energy began to simmer and settle down as the veins relaxed and returned to their ordinary size and shape beneath his skin. That's some good stuff. Han Sen was overjoyed. He then thought to himself, if the devil unicorn can block elemental attacks, does that mean the bell's noise is a special sort of element itself? After 9 times, the bell stopped. There was no more noise, but that only led Han Sen to discover something even more frightening. The blue bell was alive. It started flying, and looking set to crush Han Sen, it suddenly went right for him without cause. Inside the blue bell was a blue metal chain, and at the bottom of the chain was a cone-shaped, blue metal ringer. The ringer was the reason the bell had rung. Luckily, Han Sen's energy was no longer messed up and he could focus. Quickly, he jumped and rolled away, evading the blue bell that tried to land on top of him. Fortunately, the bell was not as quick as he feared it might be, which allowed Han Sen to dodge the attack. The blue bell missed Han Sen, but it didn't try again. It immediately stopped going after Han Sen and went after the blood centipede instead. The bell spun around and around like a saucer as it went. When it arrived, the bell that was only as tall as a human morphed its shape. As it hovered above the writhing centipede, it expanded until it was large enough to consume the entire creature. Seeing this gave Han Sen the heebie-jeebies. Boom! The blue bell landed atop the twisting centipede, and then Han Sen heard noises come from within. He heard the centipede trying to fight its way out of the bell's entrapment. The noise that emanated from the bell was not unlike the ringing he had heard earlier. Every tone was a shock, and Han Sen had only his devil unicorn to repel it. Of course, it wasn't half as effective as the noises from earlier, as it wasn't a proper tolling. These noises were created by the panicked centipede, and as such, the devil unicorn could block each pulse. The blood centipede continued fighting on the inside for half an hour until its noise gradually weakened. After another half an hour passed, there was no more movement to be heard at all. Han Sen then finally saw the blue bell move again. It spun around in the air again before shrinking down to its initial size. When it was about as tall as a human again, it went for the little angel. From its time beneath the bell, the blood centipede had now become nothing but bones. It looked as if it had been dead for a good many years, just like the bones Han Sen had seen earlier. But the little angel wasn't threatened. She dodged the incoming bell with ease and then smacked it heavily with her greatsword. A deep cleft was left in the bell's side, which made the object squirm backwards and unleash more of its horrible tolling sounds. The little angel's energy was messed up as a result, and she had to cast her energy flow skill to ease it. She could not dodge the bell's attack due to this, and all she saw was the bell spinning towards her. The little angel hastened her cast and was able to quell her inner turmoil, and evade the bell's strike with just enough time. Still, by exerting so much effort, her energy had become even more messed up. Hansen then decided to summon the little angel back to the Sea of Soul, which made the bell lose its target. But after the little angel disappeared, it did not turn its attention to Hansen as it had previously. It merely flew back to the bell tower and reattached itself. What is that thing? Is that a super creature? Hansen was flabbergasted. Aside from that, he couldn't think of what else it could have been. Hansen had never heard of a super creature using bell noises to kill people before. Hansen looked at the bell once more and then walked near the corpse of the Blood Centipede. When Hansen touched it with a bit of strength, it crumbled into dust. This Blood Centipede's essence has been drained by the bell. Hansen was surprised. Clearly, the monster bell used the tolling sound to screw with the energy flows of its potential victims. When people or creatures were in pain and struggling with the confusion of their energy going haywire, the bell would fly out to cover them. That was what had happened to the Blood Centipede. Such a terrifyingly powerful foe was completely drained of its essence in less than an hour. Hansen now knew the bell was a frightening thing. But fortunately, it was slow. And if you could repel the noise, then you didn't have to be too afraid of the fiend. The blue bell only attacked Hansen once, and after he dodged it, it didn't attempt to get him again. It had some intelligence, that much was certain. It most likely realized Hansen was too agile for it, and there was no use going after him. What a strange super creature. I wonder what manner of beast soul I would receive if I killed it. Hansen gave the blue bell another look, the grimace of greed creeping upon his face. But killing the bell wouldn't be easy. Merely attacking it would generate the sound that disturbed energy flows. Hurting the monster meant hurting yourself. There would have to be another solution for killing it. It was a shame the little angel was not a spirit. If she was a spirit, she could use the devil unicorn beast soul herself. With the protection of the devil unicorn, her energy would not be disrupted and she could fight the bell with all her power. But she wasn't a spirit, she was a pet. She was unable to use any beast souls as a result. Hansen continued to observe the bell for a good long while, but he could not come up with a better solution. He summoned his little angel again and got her to attack the blue bell once more. Dong! The little angel struck the bell with all her might, and it rang with its wretched toll. The strike did leave a decent mark on the bell, however, and it became enraged in response. It flew madly towards the little angel, attempting to swallow her. Hansen immediately returned his little angel. Having lost its attacker, the bell returned to the tower and reattached itself. This could work. Hansen was delightfully surprised. He resummoned his little angel and had her attack the bell once again. He cheesed it this way many times. The bell was covered in clefts and deep cuts before long. When the bell lost all patience with its phantom attacker, it started to toll itself. Dong, dong, dong. The horrible bell noise racketed across the shelter and beyond. Hansen put the little angel back in the Sea of Soul and used the devil unicorn to shield himself from the noise's effect. After a while, the bell stopped ringing. Then, Hansen got back to it. He summoned his little angel and bid for her to attack the bell once again. After she attacked, the blue bell took off in flight. This time, it was going away from the shelter as if it wanted to escape. Hansen didn't want this, so he commanded the little angel to chase after it. Dong! Another ringing sound erupted, and the little angel froze in the air. Fortunately, Hansen was able to summon her back in time. It seems like it is still able to toll, even during its flight. The sound is definitely weaker than when it was stationary. However, Hansen waited until the bell stopped ringing before resuming the chase. Across the mountains, the sound of a malfunctioning bell echoed far and wide. No creature dared to come near the airborne fighters. Hansen trailed behind it and used his Dongshuan aura to scan the bell. Hansen could not sense a life force on the blue bell at all times. He could only sense it when the bell started ringing. Hansen, as he observed the energy flow, thought it was quite strange. Hansen and the little angel chased it 1,000 miles. There were countless marks scraped across the entire body of the bell, and they had lost count of how many times they had struck it. Eventually, however, victory was achieved when the bell was hewn in half. It no longer rang after its final hit, and it crash-landed in relative silence. Super creature hunted, Death Knell. The beast soul has been acquired. Its flesh cannot be consumed, but you may collect the Life Geno Essence and obtain a random numeric amount of Super Geno Points, ranging from 0 to 10. The announcement chimed in Hansen's head, which brought him great joy. But when he looked at the remains of the Death Knell that had been sliced in half, it didn't disappear. It remained where it had fallen. Can this guy be considered a second-generation super creature or third-generation super creature? Don't tell me a bell can produce babies. That would be hilarious. Hansen continued to observe it, pondering whether or not it could produce offspring. But he didn't concern himself with the question for too long before seeking to retrieve the Life Geno Essence instead. The bell did not have any flesh. Aside from its outer shape, there was only the metal chain and pendant inside. Han Sen looked at the pendant and summoned the little angel. He asked her to strike the pendant, which cracked open to release its blue Life Geno Essence. I am going to be rich. A centipede egg and a Life Geno Essence. And the strange Death Knell Beast Soul on top of all that. I have earned a lot today. Han Sen was more than pleased. He took another look at the shattered pieces of the slain bell, which lay scattered about. He brought out a bag and collected all the broken bits, crushing some of the bigger parts to fit them all in. Then he summoned his golden roar and placed the bag on it. With his rewards in hand, he turned to ride away. Han Sen put away the Life Geno Essence and let the little angel crack the Blood Centipede's egg open for him. The little angel sliced the egg, and that chimed the announcement. Super creature hunted, 1000-blade blood dragon baby. The beast soul has not been acquired. Consume its flesh to obtain a random numeric amount of Super Geno Points, ranging from 0 to 10. Han Sen quickly lifted the egg that had been cracked open and consumed the yolk that was inside. The juice tasted like coconut, and it was quite nice. It surprised him, as it didn't taste like any creature. 1000-blade blood dragon baby consumed. You have received 1 Super Geno Point. This notification played a few times, and a huge smile burst on Han Sen's face. Try as he might, he could not stop grinning. A warmth swirled around inside his body and blended with his blood. The blood cells seemed to quickly morph, and they felt different from before. When all was said and done, the 1000-blade blood dragon baby had given Han Sen 7 Super Geno Points, which brought his total Super Geno tally up to 24. His fitness felt an immediate increase. After consuming the 1000-blade blood dragon baby, Han Sen spent some time researching the energy flow of the blue bell. If he could simulate its energy flow, he could absorb its Life Geno Essence. Han Sen used Dongshuan Sutra to simulate Death Knell's energy flow, and felt his entire body vibrate. He heard the sound of a bell ring, and his body throbbed to its chime. Han Sen flicked his arm, which generated a noise not unlike the death knell. The bell sounds no longer affected Han Sen, but they made the golden roar by his side shake. This is interesting. If I use this skill, and people hit me, it should issue the same results as the death knell did. The sound generated should screw with an attacker's energy flow. Although I cannot simulate it to its original power, it might still come in handy. But this bell noise affects everyone and everything. It can even hurt my friends. I need to be careful when and where I use it, lest I commit friendly fire. Han Sen was quite interested in Death Knell's energy flow. He tried it out for a while before trying to refine the bell's Life Geno Essence. As Han Sen began to refine the blue metal Life Geno Essence, the cells in his body started to become lively. Although the Life Geno Essence was named after death, its effects were to provide rebirth and a strengthening of one's genes and very life. When the refinement process was complete, Han Sen's absorbance of the Death Knell Life Geno Essence provided him 8 Super Geno Points. This brought his total Super Geno tally up to 32. These are some good rewards I have received. If this continues, it won't be long before I max out my Super Geno Points. But Han Sen had to ask himself a serious question. Was he strong enough to visit his mother's shelter? With his own power, and the aid of the Silver Fox and Little Angel, few creatures could threaten him. As such, he could consider going to visit her. Han Sen. As Han Sen walked past a human shelter, someone called his name. Han Sen heard the voice, and noticed it sounded familiar. He could not, however, recall to whom it belonged. He turned around and saw a big man running towards him, which surprised him. Brother Fist, Han Sen shouted when his eyes recognized the face. He was one of the leaders of the Steel Armor Shelter's army. Although he never spent much time with Han Sen, they had a friendly relationship and had cooperated on various occasions. Brother Fist was a friend of Fang Jingqi, and Fang Jingqi was one of Fang Zuxi's elder brothers, who had grown up with Han Sen. Brother Fist was also a good friend of Tang Zhenliu. That was why they respected each other, despite not having done much together. Brother Fist, I know you love me, but I am a raging heterosexual, and this is getting a little awkward. Han Sen slipped out of his grasp. Han Sen was quite tall himself, but Brother Fist was even taller, standing about 2 meters tall. You feel awkward. I don't. Brother Fist patted Han Sen's shoulder, smiling as he spoke. I do love you. I love you so much. Seeing you here brings tears of joy to my eyes. So why don't you come help me and Fang take a spirit shelter? Fang Jingqi is here, Han Sen asked, with a tone of surprise. Me and him are stuck at the hip. We are like 2 peas in a pod. I can't believe we both arrived here in this dump. Upon our arrival at the second god's sanctuary, there are no resources here, and neither are there many elites. I still need to collect a whole trove of sacred Geno Points, so we're making plans to take down a royal shelter to make our lives easier going forward. There is a small number of elites nearby, and we figured we would have need of their help. But here you come, passing me by. It's a stroke of good fortune. Brother Fist tugged at Han Sen's arms as he kept walking and explaining how things had been. The area was a little better than the ice field had been when Han Sen first arrived there. Still, there hadn't been much change since. Brother Fist and Fang Jingqi were not living here happily as a result. Han Sen followed Brother Fist to a night-class shelter. Fang Jingqi was there, and when he saw Han Sen, he had a similar reaction to Brother Fist and said, "Han Sen, what brings you here?" "Oh, what a wonderful opportunity. We are off to try to take down a royal shelter, so you should join us." Han Sen smiled and agreed. He'd be able to obtain a new royal spirit, and at the same time help old friends. He didn't see a reason why he should refuse their polite request. It had been a long time since Han Sen last collected a spirit, and he hoped it would be another beautiful lady spirit. She'd fit in nicely in the ranks of his goddess army. Today, the Thunder Shelter and the Devil God Shelter's people are coming. When they arrive, we can discuss any new proceedings with them, Fang Jingqi said, with much excitement as well. Clearly, they had no idea Han Sen owned a super pet and had achieved what he thought to be common knowledge. They just believed Han Sen was any old, ordinary elite. Han Sen did not spoil their perception, and simply allowed them to arrange everything. He only had to help them and get the royal spirit when the time came. With his power, there was no possibility of him failing. But when Fang Jingqi and Brother Fist brought Han Sen over to discuss matters with the others, there were disagreements. Brother Fist and Fang Jingqi knew Han Sen was an elite, so they wanted him to receive a higher share. The people from the Thunder Shelter and Devil's God Shelter, however, did not agree. They insisted Han Sen was just another component of the team, and he shouldn't receive preferential treatment when it came to the distribution of loot. Qian Zhong, how can you say that? We are cooperating to take down the shelter together. We have plenty of time to discuss this, Brother Fist said, frowning. Qian Zhong, from the Thunder Shelter, replied, if we are cooperating, then we should use the contract we have already signed and settled on. For you to go out in search of someone else is a concern of yours, where the rewards come directly out of your own shares. You cannot burden us with someone whose aid we have not asked for. Why should we give him anything? With our manpower like this, taking down the royal shelter will cost us much. Han Sen is a fierce and strong elite. He can secure our victory. Our sacrifices will be considerably lessened by his presence, I assure you, Brother Fist explained. Han Sen wasn't really interested in this talk of a cut. All he wanted was a new spirit, and he'd have long been gone had the possibility of earning one not been a prospect. Extra money made no difference to him, so earning a cut didn't really entice him. Oh, come on. Who do you think this guy is, Coin? If he's that good, then why bother coming to look for us? Go and take down the shelter all by yourselves. They can do that, can't they, Liu? Qian Zhong then dragged the Devil God Shelter's leader, Liu Tai, into the argument. Liu Tai said, Qian is correct. After everything was supposedly prepared, you are the one who has brought an extra person into this. Our shares have been settled. Therefore, there is no need for us to make a change that would accommodate him. Qian Zhong and Liu Tai were not budging on their stance, and Brother Fist and Fang Jingqi could not take back their proposal. Brother Fang and Brother Fist, can you guard the shelter? Han Sen asked them, seeing that their argument had now come to a standstill. Brother Fist wasn't sure what Han Sen meant, but right now, he couldn't allow anyone to believe he was weak. In fact, Brother Fist and Fang Jingqi were the strongest evolvers in the region. The Thunder Shelter and the Devil God Shelter combined would not have the strength to take them on. They wanted more resources, which was why they wanted to take on the royal shelter. Fine, there is no need to cooperate. We will indeed tackle it ourselves, Han Sen said. When Han Sen said that, everyone just looked at him without saying a word. Brother Fist looked ready to say something, and he moved his lips to do so, but no words were vocally drawn. He thought Han Sen had suggested something ludicrous and quite frankly, impossible. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.